When all else fails, reboot. Well, they came down here, and like last week, we turned the TV off and back on, and it still had problems. Matter of the fact that we had it recorded when I sent them the email in church, and I said, if you'll click on this link, you can see the video. Go into 6 minutes and start right there, and you'll see the first problem I had. And if you'll go to 20-minute part, you'll see the second one. So our recording played a good role in this to give them a look at what went on. So they did get to see it, what happened in there. Last Sunday, Joe Beth asked me if I had heard that Bethlehem was called by a different description sometime. I said, never heard that. She said, well, it's true. I said, okay, go look it up and bring us a report next week. So you got that report real quick?
I do. First of all, Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, was also the birthplace of King David, and called the City of David in addition. And that was also where King David was crowned. And, you know, they say they were doubting that Jesus was the Savior because he was supposed to be born in the City of David. And nobody knew, as you pointed out last week. But the word Bethlehem in Hebrew is 2 words, and they read from the right to the left. Did I do that? Well, for you all, right to the left. But anyway, so the word Beth means house. Like Bethel is house of God. And so Bethlehem, Lehem means bread. So Bethlehem is house of bread. And Bethlehem is also near, there's a very fertile valley where they grow a lot of things. And among them is corn that they use to make bread. But they made bread from other things also. And I got to thinking about Jesus and the disciples on the Sabbath in the field, and they took, and I don't know if it was corn or not, they broke something off and ate
it. It says the corn.
Yeah,
on the Sabbath, and the Pharisees didn't like it.
It was corn, yes, and the Pharisees didn't like it. But anyway, I just found that when I taught this lesson so long ago, and I found that then, I found it's just, God is so amazing how he gives us this thing. Jesus, the bread of life, is born in the house of bread. Now, isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
I just love that.
And that was the lesson last week, was bread of life. And
yes.
She had that in her mind, but she didn't have it all together. And that's why we told her to bring it this morning and share it with everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And she said they call that because, you know, the angel said to the shepherds, for unto you is born this day in the city of David.
Yes.
In Bethlehem. But the city of David is not necessarily Bethlehem. It's really the city later on that David, as a man, as a warrior, as a leader, and when he went into Jerusalem, and then he made a city of David. So you'll hear both terms, and you think, well, which one are they talking about? Bethlehem or the city of David? And that's the one you hear most, is what he occupied within Jerusalem. So sometimes that gets confusing. 2 different places use the title City of David. Used only for Bethlehem, and the fact that he was born there and crowned there. Yeah. And that was it. But when he settled in Jerusalem, he built what he called the City of David. That's great. Okay, we're going to try to move quickly today and see what we can get done. My problem was I didn't get enough sleep, so in the nighttime I have to sit up straight. So what do you do when you're sitting up at night and you don't have anything to do? Well, you get the laptop out and you look at the laptop. Oh, I'll add that. And the next night I'll add that. So you're going to see him running today. So we're talking about the light of the world. Last week we talked about Jesus being the bread of life. I don't know if you liked it, not because I taught it, but I like the scriptures. I like the term the bread of life. And we did the video so you could get a better vision of him talking to the people and saying, I am the bread of life. Some understood that, some of them didn't. Okay? And today we're going to talk about being the light of the world. Last Sunday we read scriptures in John. We were in chapter 6 last Sunday where Jesus was addressing the crowds in Capernaum. Y'all remember that? Where's Capernaum? It's up north. It's in Galilee. It's on the north side of the Sea of Galilee. But today's scriptures, we skip for whatever reason they want to move over. They're just taking sections through John. And we go to chapter 8, verse 12, and Jesus is in the temple way down south in Jerusalem. So I thought it might be good for us to quickly review these verses, some of them. I won't read them, I'll just review them quickly. How did he end up being in Capernaum, talking about the bread of life, and all of a sudden we're reading today, and he's in Jerusalem. So I'm going to try to bring us up to that. After teaching about the bread of life, and John chapter 7 tells us that Jesus went around Galilee teaching and still working miracles. He did not want to go to Judea. He did not want to go to Jerusalem because he knew the Pharisees wanted to kill him. So it was near the time of the Feast of the Tabernacles in Jerusalem. I almost went off on Feast of the Tabernacles. Didn't have time to work it in. Quickly, a Feast of the Tabernacle. There were 7 feasts in the Old Testament that God said that you need to take care of, that you need to do annually. And they've added some to that since then, so you might hear, no, there's 10, there's 12. But these 7 main ones, one of them was the Feast of the Tabernacles. And what they did, and for some will tell you it's a 7-day period, some will tell you it's 8. It's one of the 3 feasts that they tell you you have to journey all the way to Jerusalem to participate in it. And when you get there, what you do is you build these little shacks and places out here, and you live in them for a week. Now, that's the 7th day, but why do some people say 8? Well, it starts on the Sabbath. Well, if you go all the way, Sabbath is a Saturday. If you go all the way through Friday, that's 7 days. But you can't go home the next day. Why? It's the Sabbath. So some of them say it's 8 days, and that's why. But the Feast of the Tabernacles was you put your kids out there, and they say, why don't we go into the inn and spend the night there? Why are we out here in this junky little place that you built, this shanty? And that's so that they can tell their kids the story of how they live in the wilderness, coming in through the Exodus. That's how God put that down, so that they would tell their children, and their children would tell their children. So every year, the Feast of the Tabernacles. The key point here is that they had to go to Jerusalem for that. So his brothers, Jesus' brothers, told him that he should work his miracles in Jerusalem, where he could be seen by more people. Well, even his brothers did not recognize who Jesus really was. They did recognize he could do miracles. So once you go down there, you'd be more popular, bigger town, and that's the view they had. Jesus told his brothers, you go on to Jerusalem for the feast. He said, I'll be staying here at Galilee at this, because my time has not come. My time has not come to die yet. So he's staying out of Jerusalem for a while. So he continued in Galilee for a while. Because, however, after his brothers had left for the festival, Scripture tells us that he went also, but not publicly. He went in secret down to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, the Pharisees were looking for him, and they were asking everybody, where is he? Because the Pharisees really wanted to kill him, get him out of the way. He was a disruption. They didn't like him. He could do miracles. They could not. The Pharisees wanted Jesus out of the way. He knew that, but that's still part of God's plan. But the time had not come. There was widespread whispering among the crowd about Jesus. Now, some said he was a good man, while others said, no, he deceives the people. So, mixed crowds. Jesus waited until the feast was half over before he went into the temple to teach. The Feast of the Tabernacles lasted 8 days. He received mixed reactions from the crowd. However, they were amazed he could have so much knowledge. I'm amazed Steve Sprout can have so much knowledge and deliver it so easily to us. Jesus continued teaching in the outer courtyard of the temple. Many people became angry and called him a demon, while others listened and said that he surely is the Messiah. They just didn't know. Finally, because of all the commotion, the guards went to arrest Jesus, but they returned to the Pharisees without Jesus. And the Pharisees asked the guards, why didn't you bring him in? The guards shook their heads and said, no one ever spoke to us. That Jesus slipped away from the crowd and he went out to the Mount of Olives, which was just outside the city walls there. Chapter 8 in John starts out. We don't start till verse 12, so what's in that first part? Chapter 8, John starts out with Jesus returning to the temple courts again. This time the Pharisees they're going to trick him. They brought to Jesus a woman caught in adultery. Y'all remember that story? Now, this is not part of today's scriptures, but I can't pass this up. That's what made it longer. I can't pass it up. Let's turn to the scriptures and read about it. At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and they sat down to teach. And the teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. Remember, they're just looking for something to do to accuse Jesus. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher," see, they didn't call him Messiah, they called him teacher. "This woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now, what do you say?" They think, we got him. We got him on the spot. You know, he's either going to disobey the law or he's going to stand there and stone a woman. You know, this is going to be good. They got him. "Now, what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and he started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and he said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And then he stooped down again and he wrote some more on the ground. At this, now listen to this, those who heard began to go away one at a time. I think that's a key. The older ones first. Only Jesus was left with the woman standing there. Jesus straightened up and he asked the woman, "Where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one." She said, "No, sir." "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go and leave your life of sin." Go now, and it's supposed to be live. I don't know how they got it. Live your life without sin. Now, we do not know what Jesus wrote on the ground. Do any of you?
Nobody.
Oh, come on, somebody. Well, let's do it this way. Would anybody like to tell what you think Jesus may have written? That's okay. Because I have a thought, man, I got two of them. Bill.
Might have been some of the accusers there that it was there at the time.
Wrote their name.
It
He might have written down their
Because he knew that
sins.
the accusers were, so he might have been scribbling their name in the ground.
Okay. Have their names written in the dirt. Okay.
I said he might have written down their sins.
Yeah, that's one of them. I think, you write down the sin. You who were without sin. So the first sin he wrote must have been the sin of the oldest guy, because they went away, the oldest one first, and he must have looked down and said, "Oh my gosh." And then he wrote another one. Yeah, anybody else? You know what I think he might have wrote? The name of a woman that might have had an affair with one of those Pharisees. Whoa, I'm out of here. And then he wrote down another woman's name, and that one said, "Whoa, I'm out of here." It could be. Right, Jared? It's possible. But I like Sandra, that's right. I think, and you guys are talking about, I think he wrote some sins, and they looked down there, and they knew real quickly, I'm not going to mess with this guy today. I'm out of here. I just had to do that. I love that. So, but what kind of lesson can we learn from this story like this?
Don't cast stones.
Don't cast stones in glass houses. Because that's what we are. We're fragile.
Yeah.
We're guilty too. We're sinners too. Yeah.
What is that one that says that don't call the kettle black?
Pot don't call the kettle black.
Yeah. Pot.
They say that's the pot calling the kettle black. That's what my mom used to say. I'm still not sure what that means. But that's means calling you something that you did wrong, and yet I do it too. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I think we need to be careful when we look at other people and we make judgments of this person or that person and the sins that they live and say, "Isn't that terrible?" God can look down and say, "Wait a minute, I'm going to write in the sand for you and me." And he could write our sin. We just need to be careful about when we're accusing others. I've always loved that story. I couldn't pass it up, but even today's lesson. Now let's go ahead and read the scriptures. Now what we did, we got Jesus from Galilee down to Jerusalem. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, when I was studying it, and I'm sure you saw it too, they were also supposed to stone or kill the man who was involved.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring the man.
No, both of them.
So it was a trap.
Oh, it was, definitely. So we started in verse 8, and verse 12 in chapter 8. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The Pharisees challenged him. Here you are appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid. Why?
Have to have two witnesses.
You have to have two witnesses. Oh, they got him, didn't they? That got Jesus. That's just one. Jesus answered, even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid. For I know where I came from and where I am going. But you have no idea where I came from or where I'm going. But it didn't stop there. You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge my decisions are true because I am not alone, I stand with the Father who sent me. In your own law, it is written that the testimony of two witnesses is true. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me. There's his two witnesses. He was prepared. Then they asked him, where is your Father? Do they get it? Oh, heck no. You do not know me or my Father, Jesus replied. If you knew me, you would know my Father also. If you understand who I was, you would understand who the Father is. He spoke these words while teaching in the temple courts near the place where the offerings were put. Yet no one seized him because his hour had not yet come. His hour had not yet come. God would not allow, the Father would not allow anything to happen yet. There's a timetable. Now we want to take a little time and focus on the phrase that Jesus spoke, and he said, I am the light of the world. In order to understand the meaning of this phrase, we might first need to understand what darkness is. We're going to be talking about spiritual darkness rather than physical darkness. We know that darkness is the absence of light. That's what darkness is. But it's most often used in the scriptures as the absence of the knowledge and the love of God. That's the darkness. That's the people that live in darkness. They don't know God. They don't have knowledge of Him. They don't have love for God because they are living in darkness. In Ephesians it said, for at one time you were in darkness. That's everybody in this room. At one time we were in darkness. We may not know everything, but we know the light, we know the Father, we know the Son. We're not living in darkness. And in John, it said, but if a man walk in darkness, he stumbleth because there's no light in him. There's people that they don't have any clue about Jesus Christ. And you ask them, well, what's going to happen to you when you die? Well, I hope I make it. I hope I make it. You ever heard that? I heard it from my sister in Canada several months ago when I finally got the nerves to ask her about it. She said, well, we're hoping so. That's not good, is it? That's not good. Who hath delivered us from the power of the darkness has translated us into the kingdom of his Son. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of the darkness. Beware of the people that live in the darkness. In Psalms it said, the gods know nothing, they understand nothing. That's a little g, gods. They walk about in darkness. And Ecclesiastes says, the wise have eyes in the back of their heads, while the fools walk in darkness. The word darkness appears 148 times in the Bible. Sometimes it means physical darkness, and sometimes it refers to spiritual darkness. The word light appears over Jesus came to be the light of the world, to shine in the darkness that man might see and believe in him that was sent by God. Jesus is the light. If you go back to John 1:1 and begin reading, it said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of all mankind. Talking about Jesus. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Or as the King James Version says, they comprehended it not. Shined his light, and they still had no clue, some of them. In John 3 it says, this is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Some people don't want to come to church because they have to give up all these evil things they're doing, and they like it. They're happy with it. Why do they want to come to church and have to give this up? That's the way the people live that are in darkness. It says they love the darkness. John 8, it says when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And my favorite verse about the light. In John 12, I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. If you believe in him, you're out of the darkness. You are in the light. Now that Jesus is no longer on this earth, residing on the earth, it is our responsibility to let our light shine so that those in darkness might see, believe, and have eternal life. So he left us with a job to do, for us to be the light and let it shine in the dark world. Jesus is speaking to us when he said in Matthew 5:14, let your light shine before men in such a way that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. People need to look at us and say, wow, that's a believer. How is your light shining today? Whoa. If I have not succeeded in convincing you that you are a light unto the world, then I pray that God will use one of these next slides to speak directly to you. Become the bright light for others when their world becomes dark. Don't let someone dim your light simply because it's shining in their eyes. Faith is the light that guides you through the darkness. Small lights have a way of being seen in a dark world. Ours is the responsibility to keep our lights bright for others to see and follow. Go out into the world today. Love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in their hearts of others. Be the light. When you find yourself in the position to help someone, be happy and feel blessed because God is answering that person's prayer through you. Remember, our purpose on earth is not to get lost in the dark, but to be a light to others so that they may find their way through our light, through us. Your soul is a glorious beacon of light. Awakening is all about love, peace, inclusion, and giving. When you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. When you shine your light, it might hurt the eyes of those who still live in the dark, and they may not like it. Shine on. You have an inner light, a special glow that no one else has. Let your light shine because you were born to shine. Shine your light so all can see it. Lift it up because the whole world needs it. Let your light shine, be a source of strength and courage. Share your wisdom, radiate love. People are attracted to the light that lives inside us by the quality of our character. Let your life shine brightly.
Yes.
In the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You were born to light up the world. Very simply put, be the light. And it could say that God wants you to be. I made it. So I tacked on something, I moved it last night, but now I'm going to do it anyway. Instead of closing with a prayer this morning, I'd like to close with this song.
Wallace,
You can't, would you? What?
just, I wanted to tell you all, Toby Blakely's men, 5 of them came to my house yesterday, cleaned my gutters, repaired them, cut my shrubs, fixed my falling down fence. Their lights were shining
Yeah, I
so
was going to say,
bright.
their light was shining. Yes.
Oh, I was so blessed. And then they all gathered around me and prayed over me. And they're adopting me. When the leaves fall, they're coming back again.
Okay.
And I saw them in the streets, hugging each other goodbye. It was beautiful. Shining lights.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
A little bit too slow, isn't it?
This little light of
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
There we go.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
You better get ready, it's moving.
Like that shines in the willow, as the darkness from above shines on me and shines on you. Shines the power of love within. Shine my light both bright and clear. Shine my light both far and near. And in no corner that I find, gonna let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
There's a tough one coming up, get ready.
They gave me the gift of love. Tuesday peace came from above.
You okay with it?
They told me to have one with. Thursday gave me a little more grace. Friday told me to watch and pray. Saturday told me to start to say. Sunday gave me the pardon heart to let my little light shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
You are dismissed on a high note.